I'm wondering how we de-escalate an ecosystem of disinformation as justification for extremist violence. Because we're living in different realities these days, and every time you see someone crazy and violent, I bet if you saw what they saw, the average person would act like they acted too. And we can't have productive conversations when we're on fundamentally different planets. So I'm trying to brainstorm ideas for how we could fix this as someone with a background in digital design and internet culture. First of all, I think that regulating hate speech is far easier said than done and brings up a lot of ethical and constitutional concerns. I don't think that is a productive, realistic conversation. I wish it was, but have you met an American? So instead, I want to talk about the causes of hate speech, misinformation. First, I think we should bring back the fairness doctrine. Reagan got rid of it. But broadcasts used to be held to a standard where they had to provide a fair, truthful, and balanced view of events. Getting rid of it has led to profit-optimized, subgroup-focused media outlets, two different political ideologies, but we are facing the consequences for that every day. Second, what if news organizations had to be nonprofits? So this gets rid of the incentive to have clickbait full of ads that no one can read through, and also to paywall articles so most people can't ever read the full news, only the headlines. Third, and this is more original and it would be very hard to implement, but special verification. Sort of like the old blue check marks on Twitter, but more specialized than that. Just for news organizations, verifiable reporting outlets. I think it should be a special standardized symbol across all major social media platforms. And I think it should have its own tab, like a For You page or followers, news. Getting this verification would add a lot of credibility to actual formalized verified reporting outlets. And a lot more visibility too. They'd have their own special feed with far less competition. And whenever you make a post talking about a story, I think there should be a way to link it, like you can in TikTok to certain products. This would keep discourse accountable to some verifiable facts. And those news sources get huge visibility and extra clicks from this. But there's a cost. But by getting this verification, I think those outlets should be held to stricter legal requirements for reporting truthful information. That is, if they report unverified misinformation, they could face legal consequences for that. So they'd still be incentivized to be quick at reporting things, at least to beat their competition, but they would have incentive also to slow down a little bit and check their facts before they post something. Even with the Charlie Kirk incident, we've seen a lot of misinformation, even from news outlets, quickly put out there and then retracted. That is dangerous, and people still run those earlier drafts because they've not seen the newer updates. And we can't guarantee that they have or will. Average random people can still say whatever they want, but verified reporting outlets are held to a higher, clearer standard. We can separate opinion and conjecture from verifiable fact. I believe at this time, the American government is too politically biased to implement such a system fairly. But once we get things back to normal, I think this is the only way we can really coexist with social media as a system long term. On the user end, we have to overcome the anonymity problem, or better put, the accountability problem. I think the current ID-based attempts are messy and ageist and not going to work out great, and there's a lot of reasons to be against that, especially if you're worried about a biased government collecting your data. But I think preventing account spam after you get banned is important. And I think linking different posts to the same profile or user is important. A big problem with 4chan was that users had no accountability, no account necessarily tied to their posts across the same forum. So 4chan was a weird mix of people who are just being ironic and taking different stances post to post, who didn't believe in any of it, some actual consistent, earnest fascists and bad people, and some genuine schizophrenics who thought they were serious but weren't to be taken seriously. And I'm not trying to exaggerate that or use that as like a random derogatory insult. There are people who are actually unwell. And on 4chan, all three of those groups look the same. You can't tell who's joking or who thinks it's serious. Even a system like Reddit profiles is way better at tracing who's saying what and who's just a troll. And most importantly, who's a bot. We need to do something serious about bots online. It's bad. We need legislation for this yesterday. The only way I would really want to limit speech is maybe some clear legal guidelines on what counts as stochastic terrorism and hold at least elected politicians to restrict what they can do to stoke violence. I do think the responsibility of leadership should mean being held to a higher standard, especially when Americans' lives are at risk. But this is all just some first impressions brainstorming, because I think the social media landscape is bad, and boomer politicians have no idea the monstrosity that is the modern day American experience. Do you think things are fine? If there's a problem, what is it? And what should we do about it?